Hey guys, good moedim l'simcha. Some thoughts, random thoughts. What is it? Deep thoughts by Jack Handy. Random thoughts. A friend of mine, every year, I think for the last 5 or 6 years, he builds a sukkah in front of his building in Brooklyn. The sukkah is has now gotten to be the size of a nuclear submarine. Not only the size of one, but having all the provisions that a nuclear submarine would have, except for maybe torpedoes. So it's amazing what he does. He's a tzaddik. It's great. I love it. Okay. A mutual friend of ours, actually a friend of mine who I was spent Sukkot with, he said, "What man? It's great what he's doing, but like, why all the all the trouble just to build this nuclear submarine when in 8 days it's going to be taken down, it's going to be dismantled." I was just thinking about that, folks. That's basically what we're doing here. Sukkot is the representation. Why do you guys see this schach over my head, right? This bamboo stuff. It's a representation that everything is temporary, right? That the roof that we think that's over our head is really just a shem, and at the end everything goes. Everything gets dismantled. Our house is not our house, right? Hashem gave it to us, and the things that we use on Sukkot, these palm trees and palm branches and this etrog, they wilt, right? After a certain amount of time, they wilt. At best, you can make liqueur with this etrog, but that's it. That's basically it, guys. Everything else goes to, right? Temporary. So it's funny, guys. We spend all this time on this earth, on average. Let's say, what is you hope to? It's going to be 100 Ad Me'esrim, right? 120. But what's the average? 80, 85, right? So you spend about 80 years. Some people, even to the last maybe 10 years of that, or to the last 75 of those years, let's say, trying to build and build and build and amass and chase, I would say chase, something that is temporary, meaning something that we're not even taking with us. You could say, well, I want to leave it for my kids and my grandkids. Okay, even then, that's just not, who says it's going to stay in perpetuity, right? Who says that you're, God forbid, your next generation is not going to squander it, right? So it's just funny. It's basically, I wanted to tell my friend that our mutual friend, what is he really doing? He's encapsulating in eight days what people are basically doing in 80 years. It's essentially the same thing, guys. People are amassing this, and they're always trying to beautify, and improve, and build more, and build a newer house, get a bigger house, get a bigger car, get a, but it's not, unless your consciousness is about for the to amass these things for the purpose of just doing mitzvot, or for the purpose of hosting people for Shabbat, or for the purpose of house, having big meals, and for the purpose of whatever, hosting lectures, Torah lectures, whatever it is. Most people are just doing it just to do it, meaning just doing it just to have it, right, and to enjoy it, right? But obviously it's temporary. Obviously it's it's fleeting. So it's funny. So our friend is basically showing us that it is fleeting and that it is temporary. And we don't realize it. We live life. We don't realize that it is, that everything is fleeting, right? And we're just amassing and amassing and amassing. Not to say that you should just sit on your butt and do nothing. Of course, you have to have a purpose in life and do things and work and whatever it is. But it's pretty much the same thing as Sukkot minus the mitzvot, right? For most people. At least with Sukkot, there's a purpose here, right? I have to sit here. I just washed for bread. I made a bracha, two brachas actually. And then later I'm gonna shake the lulav and the trog, and right. I have to host people here. It's nice to host people here. Like it's almost. I mean, you really have to. You should go out of your way to do so. Um, so yeah, our friend was basically showing us in 8 days what we're basically doing in 80 years, and it makes total sense. What's the second thought? Second thought, maybe related, but slightly different. Slightly in a different category. Second thought is, guys, I'm looking at this so-called deal that we're about to witness, I guess. Uh, Honestly, the fact that we are about, by we I mean the Israeli government, so it's not we. The fact the Israeli government is about to do pretty much the same thing, just on a bigger scale, really bigger scale, as what they did with the Gilad Shalit situation, right? Which is what? To exchange, in this case, it's some alive hostages, some dead hostages, right? In exchange for literal orc terrorists, which may end up similar to Yahya Sinwar. If you guys know the story, one of the 1,017 people exchanged for Gilad Shalit was Yahya Sinwar. Yahya Sinwar ended up being the guy that planned October 7th. We eventually killed him, but not before he planned October 7th and executed it. So just the fact that the Israeli government is doing this, my friends, again, it shows us. I think for me, this time around, it looks like a Hashem production, a direct Hashem production, because none of it makes sense. It doesn't make sense, We're attacked on Simchat Torah. This deal, so to speak, is finalized basically on Hoshana Rabbah, when it's explained that the actual judgments are sealed on Hoshana Rabbah, not on Yom Kippur, on Hoshana Rabbah, which I think is going to be this Monday, I believe. And these people, if everything goes according to so-called plan, they'll be able to spend, the hostages will be able to spend Simchat Torah with their families in Israel, at home. My friends, it almost seems too uniform, which means that it's human beings doing something that they kind of planned on doing, meaning the government knew that this is how this is going to go down. But I think obviously Hashem is in charge of the whole thing anyway, right? And it's so absurd that it's Hashem. It's kind of like Purim, right? It's so absurd, everything is so upside down, that it must be God. It must be Hashem doing this. Because it looks like it's designed to be as confusing as humanly possible. Oh, when does it get implemented? When does it get, it's going to be signed today, approved by the cabinet today, but then facilitated by Egypt and Turkey, and this whole like kabuki theater, as we say in Israel, midbalbel, like confused, mixed up, and you don't know when they're going to come out. It says the next 48 to 72 hours. Okay. Any moment now, it's so confusing. It's so it's not clear. It's just not clear, guys. Yeah, they laid out all the terms, and Trump is going to come. He's going to facilitate. He's going to make sure everything goes smoothly, relatively smoothly. My friends, I mean, basically, just the mere fact that this has been a 2-year exercise in basically Hamas and any other would-be enemies of Israel, um, prodding and basically figuring out and seeing and understanding what are Israel's limits, what are the limits of the Israeli government that they can extract, right? They've succeeded, guys. I've never seen people who had a genocide, right? And now they're celebrating. Apparently, they supposedly they had a genocide, perpetrated on them, and now they're celebrating. They're celebrating. They went from having a genocide to celebrating an actual military victory, screaming "Khaybar, Khaybar, Ya Yahud," right? Which we know what that is, right? The armies of Muhammad will return. My friends, I mentioned temporary, the concept of temporary. I really hope that this is going to be a temporary as well. Because ultimately, honestly, I think Hashem is just kind of letting us go through the motions on this one. And I think we're going to be in for a surprise. I think we're going to be in for a surprise. I was talking to a friend this morning, and he said to me, it's my friend in Israel. He's actually a convert. He said, we were talking about just economics. He said, Israel can still have its golden age, economic age. You know how? If it expands. Folks, do you know why we call Israel Eretz HaTzvi? We call it Eretz HaTzvi because it expands. The skin expands. The land expands for the Jewish people, right? The more we move in, the more it expands. The skin expands. So, folks, Israel has to expand. If we go to the Hermon, if we already went there, we have to keep going, right? The other side of the Hermon, keep going. If you already went to Lebanon, keep going. If you're already in Gaza, don't set a buffer zone, this, that. Keep going. Folks, again, as I said before, many times, you have been psyoped to believe that Gaza is an Arab area. It's not. Open up your... if you guys have like benchers, like Birkat Hamazon for Shabbat, there's songs there. One of the most famous songs, Shabbat songs, that, no Shabbos day meal goes without the song, was written by Israel Nachara, Ya Ribon Olam. It was written in Gaza in like the 1600s. He was a chief rabbi of Gaza. Folks, Gaza is Jewish. Gaza is a Jewish place. Even when we had our false messiah, if you guys remember the whole Shabtai Tzvi episode, right? Do you know who his, impresario or his, what we call hype man was? There's a guy by the name of Nathan. They call him, but he was Nathan of Gaza. Meaning Nathan from Gaza. Folks, that was in the 1600s. He was from Gaza. This is back when Jews hardly lived in, there was a few Jews in Israel. He was from Gaza. Right? My friends, there's been a lot of psyoping over the years. A lot of mind melding. I think the time for that is over. I think that has to be a temporary thing. And I think that mindset has to be dismantled, speaking of dismantling. And I think we have to build something anew. Build something wonderful and permanent. And, yeah. I have more to say, but I'll say it in another video. Alright, guys. Modim l'simcha, good moed. And, enjoy.